Welcome to the Deal Champs podcast. We have a guest who I am the most excited about out of all the people we've had. I've heard about him. My good friend Noah says he's an amazing dude, Mr. Abraham Gray. But real quick, do not forget to hit like and subscribe. Don't forget about the Deal Champs Summit, April 19th and 20th. We're going to have the best speakers in the country coming out, dropping bombs. We're so excited for it. But real quick, my name's Stratton Brown. I own a 7-figure real estate portfolio. We've scaled 2 different companies to 7 figures in 3 years using only virtual assistants. If you guys need virtual assistants in your company, come reach out to me. And our goal, and Jason's going to say this, Dean's going to say this, we want to provide you guys with so much value so we can show you guys everything that we've learned so you don't have to go get your face kicked in day after day after day. You can listen to a podcast and then just go implement whatever we talked about. And then we have the master of hair. The hair's away right now, but Mr. Jason Pritchard.
I have the hat on today, so I didn't bring the hair out. But yeah, thank you guys. It's your other co-host, Jason Pritchard. Quick backstory on me. Worked for 15 years in corporate America and decided to burn all the boats and go full-time into real estate investing in 2014. We have not looked back since then. We flipped over 400 houses. We own a rental portfolio of just over 100 units here in Central California. And like we always say on this podcast, our goal is to try to provide as much value as we can to you guys, transfer all the skills, the experience, the learning lessons that we've had so you can get to where you want to go faster without making all the same mistakes as us. And I'm very interested and excited for our guest today, Abraham. Buying businesses is something that's kind of gotten in vogue, I think, on social over the last year and some change. And so it's good to hear somebody that's doing that successfully, to hear his insight on what he has to say. So excited for this one.
And we have Mr. Captain America, Dean Rogers, who almost couldn't make it.
I made it. I'm here. Couldn't believe it. Against all odds. But yeah, guys, your other co-host here, Dean Rogers. My story is I transitioned from the NFL to corporate to then real estate. I've been doing it for 10 years now in Central California. Done over 600 plus deals. Got a rental portfolio of almost $10 million. And coaching students on how to build their real estate business with wholesaling. So you guys can always connect with me at deanrogers.com. And I am also very excited. We got a great guest, a great topic for today.
And I'm going to introduce you as the $100 million man, Mr. Abraham Gray.
Yeah.
From what I heard, the gold company did that much money, right? Like you guys did
Yeah.
that much money.
Yeah. So this was one of my businesses. It was the one that made the most money. It was from like 2007 to about 2014. But yeah, we made like over $100 million in profit on that one business. It's called Goldmax.
Wow.
I actually had locations in California also. I had over 300 locations throughout the country for that 7-year period.
Bro, what were your issues in scaling a company that large? Like, what was your number one issue that you ran into?
It's always staff. It's always employees, but we had like a really good system. So like if you were to open up 100 locations, or my thing, 300 locations all within a short period of time, you would get screwed. You'd lose all your money. It'd be impossible. I started with 1 location, then went to 5, then 10, then 30. And I slowly, added the infrastructure I needed instead of just doing it all at once. So I think you need to, start slow and build it up. As you build it up, then you could eventually have unlimited amounts because the infrastructure grows with you. So, you have obviously really, really good managers, district managers, regional managers, people like that could run the company, for you, especially if you're all over the place because you can't be everywhere.
Where did you learn how to structure the infrastructure over time? Like, were you paying for coaching, or you're just like, hey, this didn't work, we're going to have to try this another way?
Yeah. I mean, I actually never paid for any coaching. I started doing business when I was 15. I had my first business when I was 15, and, I made $1 million. I saved them. Well, I made a lot more than $1 million, but I saved $1 million in my bank account by the time I was 19. And from there, I just went from business. I bought a lot more businesses, started some businesses, and then just learned from mistakes, and then learned from other people that were doing business that I looked up to. And I asked them questions and learned from them. I didn't have anyone that, like, one particular person that I paid or one particular person that I learned a whole lot from, but I learned from everybody a little bit. Like, everybody does something good. So I went to like a whole bunch of different people that were successful, and I learned the best thing that each person did. I figured out ways to help them. They ended up liking me, and that's how I learned from everyone. So it's amazing. Like, no matter how smart you think people are, They're very dumb at some stuff, and they're very, very good at some stuff. So you just take the best shit from everybody, and that's what you do.
What was it about businesses at 17 years old, right? Like you don't hear a lot of that. I mean, I know I was intrigued by real estate like at a young age, right? But like going in and thinking like, hey, I want to buy a business and turn around. What was it that got you excited about doing that at such a young age?
I mean, my first business was in sports cards, and I was growing up, I had kind of like a rougher childhood. My parents got divorced when I was young. I lived with my mom for a little while, then my dad, but then I just went from foster family to foster family. And I didn't really have any brothers or sisters or parents or anyone that I really was super close to. So I took to sports. Sports was like my family. So I was really into football the most. And I started collecting cards. And I got really, really good at it. And I started selling them when I was 15. And I made some money when I was 15. But then when I was 16 and got a car, I was able to drive. I started doing shows all over, Georgia and then all over the country, and started making a lot of money. I was really good at knowing which players are worth how much. And I could look at collections that had hundreds of cards or even thousands of cards in minutes and be able to make offers on people's collections and buy them really fast. And, always made a lot of money on them. So it was just the love of sports. And then of course, once you start making money, you're like, oh shit, I can make money doing this. And then, you just want to make more and more and figure out ways to get better. So, that's how it started. And then went from like sports cards to like other businesses that kind of hit me that made sense. And, luckily I made tons of money in lots of businesses at a young age and learned a lot at the same time.
Where were you? I'm going to take it back to the Gold Max, and we'll probably jump around a little bit. Where are you recruiting people good enough on a 300 location company? I feel like you need to find some people with some horsepower who are at least over the other ones.
I was about probably the luckiest person that you could be, because when I got into this business, besides the fact that it made $100 million profit, it literally was like a perfect economy for everything I was doing. Gold got to an all-time high. The economy got in the worst recession ever in decades. So like literally everyone was losing their job. Real estate was tanked. Like it was, you could rent like the best locations, retail locations, for like pennies on the dollar. You can get the landlords to work out crazy terms to where, you didn't have to lock in leases for long periods of time. And then of course, all that lined up together. So I was able to get really good employees, because most good employees were getting fired or laid off because companies weren't doing good then. So I was able to get these really, really good employees. It was so many at the time for like way less than they were worth years before. And they saw that I was growing. They saw I knew what I was doing. And then they recruited people that used to work in their company under them that got laid off also. So like, that's how I got my first core and my first whole lot of really good people. And it's trickled down. But like the timing was good. Like, I don't know if I could get that quality of person right now because the economy is a little different, but everything lined up. And then of course we're in a recession. So everybody needed money. So everyone was selling their gold. Everyone was selling their diamonds. Everyone was selling their watches for like way less than what it was worth. Crazy amount less than what it was worth. I was paying like 30 cents to 35 cents on the dollar on average for everything. So every single time someone brought me $1,000 worth of stuff, I made $3,000. I tripled my money on everything I bought. And
the price of gold was going up too. Yeah. Cause I mean, everybody's looking for assets, right? Cause real estate's tanking. So they're looking for something stable.
In the 80s,
talk about perfect, bro. That's absolutely a perfect story.
Everything was perfect. I was able to get the best real estate, the best employees, and then everybody needed money. And gold went up so much. So like literally people bought gold. Most of these people bought their gold in the 80s. And in the 80s, gold was $200 an ounce. And they wore this stuff. It was all yellow gold. Most of it was outdated. A lot of it was broken. They were selling it to me 20 years later. Gold went up to, when I started, it was 700. It got to like 1900 in 2011 when I was in it. But people were selling me gold for the same price they paid for it, but it was worth 4 times as much. Yeah. And they were like, holy shit, I'm selling this crappy gold that's like outdated, broken. I don't care. I melted it all anyway. I melted 99% of it. The nice stuff I would keep and sell it. But people didn't understand it as a commodity. People thought like anything else. I have a car. I used it. Okay, I got my money's worth. It depreciated. And that's the way people looked at gold and watches and diamonds and all that stuff a lot of people. And even people that didn't look at it like that, they needed money. Like everyone was getting laid off. Like the economy was shit, So thank God for Democrats, they killed the economy and made it really good for us. So people always ask me, who do I rather have in office? I mean, usually it would be Republicans, but I actually make way more money when Democrats are in office because they do so much stuff that really hurts all the middle class and poor people, which really makes all the wealthier people way more wealthy. Even though they pitch it the opposite, but yeah, literally that's the market was really bad. So that's how it all came together. But it was an incredible time. And it lasted 7 years. At the end, I sold a lot of stores off to like some managers I had and different employees. Ended up liquidating some and then closing some and got into the next thing. But yeah, that's business. So I started business when I was 15. But real estate, I know you guys are real estate guys, and I'm a big real estate guy. Like people, I mean, I do a ton of business, but real estate, I do crazy, like more than anybody as well. And I got into real estate when I was 22. So like 7 years after I was doing well with business, and I would just use all the money I was making to just buy tons of stuff. And now I own like about 250 rentals, mostly in Atlanta area. And I do, 2021, 22, I was doing like 250, 300 flips a year. So in the last few years, I did over 1,000 flips. But I've been doing them ever since 1998. That's when I bought my first property in 1998. I still own some properties that I bought in 1998, 1999, 2000. But luckily, again, when I was making most of my money, 2011 is the year I made crazy amounts of money. That was like the best year for gold. And that happened to be one of the years that market just tanked for real estate. So I actually went out and bought like crazy amounts of property, 2010, 11, 12. With all the extra money I was making. Like every month I had an extra $1 million, $2 million in my bank account. I didn't know what to do with it. So I would just put it into real estate, and properties that were worth $250,000 in 2005, 6 were worth $20,000, $30,000, 2010, 11. And I just bought like hundreds of properties. Unfortunately, I sold a lot of them like 4 or 5 years later, even though I tripled my money. Now I would have 10 times, 15 times the money, but I still have a good bit of them, but I sold a lot of them. So that was a good part of real estate too.
Question for you. So we always tell people, right, you've got to have an active arm on your business. We are mainly a real estate show, right? And a lot of people get into real estate because they want to buy rentals, but they forget that they need income coming in on a consistent basis, and rental properties don't typically generate what you need to keep acquiring, right? So it sounds like done flipping at a very high level, and you've also generated a lot of active income from your businesses. Just curious to hear, do you like the active income that comes from buying, fixing, and selling real estate, or do you like the active income that comes from a business? And what are the pros and cons of each? What do you like better?
So long term, I like the business, because the business takes a little bit of time to get going, but once you get it going, it's on autopilot. And literally, my worst businesses make $10,000 a month. My best businesses, make $150,000 a month in profit. So it's like, it's on autopilot. I'm never at my businesses. How often do you go to your rentals? Probably never. I don't go to my businesses. It's the same thing. So my rentals on average make $300-$400 a month, passively, but my businesses passively pretty much, because I spend very little time with them, make tens of thousands a month. So, ultimately those are better, but it's a lot harder to get a good business going. So if you are in it for the quick, and you're impatient, then, fix and flips are probably better, because you could flip those every few months, 3, 4, 5 months, you could flip. Businesses, you could get some really good ones that make 10 times, 50 times more than a fix and flip, but consistently every month. But it's a lot more work to find it, negotiate it, and get it going.
I think the skill set's different too. Like, the managing the people, the marketing aspect is a lot different. Especially like retail side is a completely different game with a lot of the stuff you hold.
Yeah, the marketing and management of people is definitely pretty different. But once you do both a lot, you can see so many similarities, but it's also different at the same time.
But so you made $20 million in 2011? Is that what you're saying?
2011, I made profit. Yeah, at least I have checks I wrote to the IRS for like a few $1 million every quarter. I mean, like a couple times a year, like in 2011, 2010. Yeah. I mean, I have like crazy checks. And keep in mind, when I say I have checks I could show you right now that I wrote to the IRS for these that were cashed, I also had a crazy amount of write-offs, a crazy amount. Like the amount of, I paid accountants like tens and tens and tens of thousands a year for all the different things they were able to save me money on. And, you know, I had the highest level accounts, but even after all those write-offs, I still owed like millions of dollars every year to the higher ed. Yeah.
Jeez, dude.
So you've got a unique perspective. So yeah, you said we're real estate guys. That's true. That's what we eat, breathe, and sleep all day long. You do both, right? So you juggle a lot of different things. What are some of the unique things that you think are your favorite parts of the business side and your favorite parts of the real estate side? And then what are some of the opposite? Like, what are the things you dislike about both of the industries?
Yeah, I mean, when I say you're a real estate guys, I mean that's a business though. Like you run a real estate business, you know. But yeah, I mean, the things that I like the most about business is that I love negotiating and figuring out these unique different things you can do that other people haven't done. But the cash flow on a business is the sexiest thing. Like literally, the cash flow on a business. If you like the cash flow on rentals, Airbnbs, and all that, when you start having good businesses, like you'll laugh at the cash flow on those. Like I love my rentals and I love, you know, the cash flow I have, but it's a joke compared to the cash flow I have on business. But I know, like I've owned real estate for many years now, and what I've seen is I make most of my money on real estate when I sell it. I make decent money every single month for, you know, however many years I have it, but the real home run is when you sell it. So you don't see those home runs but one time. You see those when you sell it that one time. And on business, you see it every single month. Every single month, you're getting those, you know, big distributions or big checks. So definitely the cash flow on businesses are way sexier. But the things that I don't like about business is that it is a lot more work, right? So in the beginning, just setting it all up, a lot of things could go wrong. If your managers end up, you know, quitting or not being good, it's a lot more work on you. You know, on a property, if you know, you just hire another property manager. It's not like the end of the world. It's easy. You know, even the worst thing that could happen, you know, you have to do rehab or whatever. It's whatever. But like with a business, it can take a lot more of your time if things aren't set up right. But you know, once you know how to set it up right, you pretty much don't have to worry about that. But in the beginning, you know, when I started doing business, I had a lot of, you know, I worked my ass off a lot more because I didn't know the best ways to do stuff. And you know, every year I learned how to do it better. So now I don't have to spend much time on stuff, and I set it up to where I have really good managers, or I have really, really good partners. And more or not, I have really good partners in almost all my businesses.
Which ones have the more write-offs? So we know real estate, we buy rental properties for the depreciation and the bonus depreciation, cost segregation, all these different things to help us tax-wise. Do you get a ton of write-offs on the business side too?
Yeah, you get a bunch of write-offs, but it's nothing like real estate. So, you know, just in general, 90% of people probably become millionaires with real estate. That's legitimately 90% of people become millionaires with real estate. 99% of people become billionaires with business, right? And most people that have businesses end up owning tons of real estate because they make so much money on their business. There's some write-offs, but not like crazy amount. So you have to buy a ton of real estate. So most people that have a lot of businesses that make a lot of money buy tons of real estate, obviously because they want to diversify and because there's cash flow and everything else. But the tax write-offs are crazy and they never end up selling them. And when they sell them, they just do tax-free exchanges into bigger and better stuff. So they always could defer the taxes.
Talk about, I always love hearing kind of like the hero's journey, man. So it's really cool to hear you say, hey, we started doing cards. I was interested in cards. I love sports memorabilia when I was young. So I can remember like going to the baseball card shop stuff when I was a kid. Right. So how do you go from that? And what was that journey like to getting to Goldmax, where a lot had to happen and you had to have changed a lot as a businessman and just as a man in general to go from like owning a sports store to owning 300 franchises of like a gold company, right? So what was that? What was that?
They weren't franchises. I owned them all. I had partners, but they were all owned by us. We didn't have but every single business I've ever had are related to another business I had. Like literally one led to another. So with sports cards, the next thing I got into were Beanie Babies. I was like the biggest Beanie Baby dealer in the country for sure. I used to sell tractor trailers at one point of Beanie Babies to all kinds of places. But the way that started was I did baseball cards or sports cards. And one day in 1997, there were these people setting up at baseball card shows with Beanie Babies, these middle-aged women, and I saw them. I'm like, what in the world are they doing at baseball card shows? And I, started making fun of them. And then all of a sudden I saw their tables over the next few months were busier than mine. I'm like, what the hell? Let me learn.
Yeah.
I went there and I started asking questions. How'd you get these? Why are the people buying them? And I looked into it. I'm like, crap. And then I started selling baseball cards and Beanie Babies at the same time. Half my booth was baseball cards. And then eventually I was like, screw baseball cards. There's way more money in Beanie Babies. So I started doing Beanie Babies. And then from Beanie Babies, that was a collectible. I got into other kid collectibles. I got into Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! And it all came from Beanie Babies. And then from there, what happened was I built this network. Everybody knows the way to make money in anything, real estate, everything is build a big network, and you do deals with more people. So that's what happened with me. So I did a lot of deals with people in baseball cards, and I started doing a lot more deals with people in Beanie Baby business. And then, of course, in Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic. And then what happened was a lot of these people that in my network were all entrepreneurs, just like me. And I became really close with, a handful of people, probably like 6 or 8 people, and we would share our ideas back and forth. And basically, everyone would try different things. And some of the things they tried would work and they would do really well. And some of them didn't work. And same with me. I tried tons of shit that didn't work. Trust me. We could go through millions of different things I did that didn't work. But the key is all the things I did that didn't work, I cut my losses at 10,000, 50,000, whatever it was, 100,000. The things that did work, I made millions, tens of millions. And then this one, 100, over 100 million. So the key is doing it. So every single person that was in my network, every time they had something good, we had like this deal that like, you show me all your good shit. You live in Chicago, you live in New Jersey, you live in California, you live in Texas. Like you do it there, I'll do it in Atlanta. And then every time I have something good in Atlanta, I'm going to show you what it is. And you do it in your city. And that's kind of how I got into a lot of these different things. And the gold business was actually a friend of mine that was in my network that we did a ton of business together in Beanie Babies and then Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon. He came up with this whole gold thing. And he's like, man, you got to try it. I'm like, I don't even wear gold. I hate gold. I don't like jewelry. I don't know anything about it. He's like, bro, like, you don't understand. Like, it's crazy right now. Like, it just went from like $200-300 an ounce to like $650 an ounce, $700 an ounce. Like, people are like lining up. Like, no one's doing it. Let me show you. And I was like, all right. I went there. And at the time, I was really big into something called Webkins. It's another stuffed animal, like way after Beanie Babies. But I was making millions and millions of dollars doing Webkins. And I stopped doing that and started doing gold. And it was literally from someone that just, I never would have thought of that. But somebody in my network told me they were doing really good at it. And, I've given them some things that they do really good at, that they've made tons of money on. And now we have a network of 10 people and we all share our good ideas. And that's basically how I came up with almost everything if I didn't come up with myself.
I'll start calling you the arbitrage king.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like the arbitrage. Like, did you get into crypto early?
I hated crypto. I never got into crypto. It was something about something I can't control. Like I can't control it, I don't like it. So like I never invest in other people's stuff. Everything I put my money into is something I control. I've never done drugs in my life. I don't drink. I've never been drunk in my life. I don't like I like being able to control everything. So, I see, when people do drugs and crypto, just anything could happen. I don't like stocks and I don't like gambling. I have no control over it. The only gambling I like
how you just associated drugs with crypto.
Well, I'm just saying.
You're a degenerate. If you like crypto, you're a drug addict.
To me, you don't have control is what I'm saying. When you drink, you're drunk, you don't know what you're doing. When you're on drugs, you don't know what you're doing. You're screwed up. So crypto, it could go up, go down. I never understood the logic of it.
So you had the gold stuff going on in like around the time real estate market crashed, 2010, 2011, 2012, right? Yeah. Prior to that, obviously you were doing all these shows. How has technology, the internet, eBay, Shopify, like all of these things, like has that been, I'm assuming it's better, but maybe I'm wrong because this is a lot of brick and mortar stuff where you have to be at a place, you have to be at an event, right? So how's technology?
No, technology was really good. So believe it or not, even back in 1990, when I got into sports cards, big time, 1990, 1991, there was internet. And I was buying and selling stuff on the internet in 1991. Yeah. That's when it kind of started. So it was something called Prodigy. That's what it was. It was before AOL. And everybody had had a Prodigy, email account. And it was on a Prodigy network. And you had buy and sell groups. So internet's very, very strong because when I was doing sports cards, one of the ways I made a ton of money is I was on the internet before most people. And I got on the internet because someone else that was in the industry with me showed me it, and very few people even knew how to do stuff on it. And I literally would sell Atlanta Braves stuff, the Falcons stuff, the Hawks stuff, and get like premium, like really good money for that stuff. But it was worthless in Los Angeles. It was worthless in Chicago. But I used to have Mike Piazza cards that everybody in LA wanted. I used to have, you know, all these cards that were really hot in other areas. And I used to trade my, you know, players that were really hot in LA. I used to all my Los Angeles, even like the common players that, you know, nobody knew or cared about. In LA, they still wanted their team. So like I would send all my LA cards to Los Angeles. I would send all my Chicago cards to Chicago, New York, and then they would send me all their Braves and Hawks, and I made tons of money because a Dodger card here is worthless, but it's worth a ton in LA and vice versa. So I did that, and then of course, you know, people build sets. People still liked other teams in Atlanta because they're from other places. So I got to see what other people wanted. And I was able to have this connection with the internet to be able to get stuff that other people couldn't get, and you know, be able to maximize on everything. Whether I gave it to people because it was worthless here, so I would go around, like I would have people in other cities that would be like, I need, you know, whatever the players are for this particular city. I could, you know, especially like Minnesota, I need my Kirby Puckets and I need all these different things. So I would go around and buy every single one that everybody had, and for pennies on the dollar, because no one cared about Kirby Puckett in Atlanta, I'd send it to Minnesota. And they would get like crazy money for it. They would give me like, you know, Deion Sanders cards and Glavins and Maddox and, you know, Dave Justice and all these, you know, players that I used to get crazy money for. And so the internet was really, really good back then, but obviously it gets better and better all the time. But I, when it did get more popular, I still was able to do better than everybody else because I was first. So the way these boards work, people would post what they had to sell. People would post what they wanted to buy. I literally was on there all the time. So as soon as somebody had a good deal, I was the first one to buy it. As soon as somebody wanted to buy something and they were paying, you know, more than I get it for, I sold them before anyone else. So I do the same thing with real estate. And, you know, the way I'm able to buy so many fix and flips and so many deals is I am on a few dozen different real estate Facebook groups in Atlanta. And I go to all the different events. There's events almost every week, and everybody knows who I am. And whenever there's a deal that's emailed to me or posted, I'm the first one to respond. I tell them, look, I don't even need to do an inspection because you have really good pictures, good videos. I'll buy it. And I send the EMD right away. I get all the best deals. Because I'm the fastest. So that's really important. If you need to inspect everything and you need to, you know, just waste time, and if it's a good deal, someone's going to buy it before you. Like the deals that are marginal, yeah, you can inspect them and you can get a lot of those. But the really, really good deals, if you're not fast and send that EMD like before anyone else, you're going to lose them all. So for like 2020, 21, 22, I never inspected a house. Like I lost on, you know, very few, and I made some mistakes on very few, but let's just say I made a mistake on 1 out of 10 even, which it wasn't that much. It was 1 out of 50. But if I made a mistake on 1 out of 10, so I would break even or lose a little bit on one house. But then there's 9 houses I bought I probably wouldn't have been able to buy if everybody inspected it and checked it, or I would have to pay a lot more because it would have got bid up. I made hundreds of thousands on the other 9. So who cares if I broke even or lost 5 or 10,000 on that one? So people didn't look at it like that. People are like, no, I don't want to lose money on anything. Fuck, I don't care about losing money on something if I can make 10 times more than everything else and get 10 times more than everybody. So that was always my thing in sports cards and every business I was in, and that's how I do real estate, and that's why I can get so much stuff.
What was the lesson that taught you that speed is so important?
Yeah.
Like what happened to you to like make you
obviously.
understand that?
The way it taught me is I get so fucking pissed off at people when I email them and they don't respond back right away. If I ask someone a question, they don't respond back. I'm okay if they respond later in the day, but if it takes like days, I get so pissed. I'm like, how do people like put up with that shit? I'm like, I couldn't put up with it. And I don't want people to do it to me, so I don't do it to anyone else. And I know the people that do it to me, I try not to do business with them because they're assholes to me, you know, whether they do it on purpose or not. So I'm like, well, shit, I want everyone to like do business with me. I want everyone to like me. I want, you know, that's how you make money. So I'm like instantly respond to everyone's email. I respond to everyone's message. I respond to everything because I know that first off, that's what I would want them to do to me, but it ultimately gets people to do more deals with you and a lot more things open up for you. So I'm very, very picky. Like the people in my office, I'm like, you got to answer your questions right away. Like they think I'm crazy, but like, no. If it goes an hour sometimes, I'm like, why didn't you answer? Like, it's been an hour. I'm like, yeah, but like someone else is going to get it before you. Like, what do you mean? That's too long, you know?
Exactly.
Have you always
well-
been going heavy on the real estate, the flipping side? I know you mentioned to 2020, 2021, but has that always been running parallel to like
I've
the other
always-
businesses?
I've always done flips, but I've never done like the quantity I've done until 2020. I've always done, 5 flips, 10 flips a year, maybe. But up until like, 2014, 15, keep in mind, I started in 1998. So this is like 15 years later. I've always done 5, 3, 10 a year on the high side. 2014, 15, I started doing like, 30 a year, 40 a year. But 2020 is when I started doing 30 a month. I'm doing like 300 a year. And that started in 2020, just because the market got crazy.
How are you able to get teams in place for all of these different businesses? Because there's no doubt, you said it yourself, the critical part for running a business is having the right people in place. For real estate, I could just get another project manager. But how many people do you have on your team? Because you mentioned you like to have control. How big is your team? How many different, operators, managers are in place to be able to put all this together?
So I want to have control of like my money. I don't like having control of people per se. So I'm actually the most hands-off person when it comes to employees and stuff. I pretty much don't ever like telling employees what to do. I want them to figure that shit out on themselves. Like I'm the opposite of a micromanager. Like I don't micromanage anyone. I don't even tell people what to do. I probably need to do it a little bit more. But I like having control of my money. I don't like having other people control of my money. But as far as employees, I mean, I literally am the easiest person to work for. I'm the easiest person to talk to, get along with. Like I'm very unconfrontational. I'm very good with talking with someone. Like if you want to bitch at me and have a problem, I know how to turn it around to where you look like an idiot and it doesn't make any sense. I'm really good at negotiating with people. Like if people want to sell me something and they want too much, I can get them to sell to me for what I want just by saying a few things and making them understand why I need to buy it for that and why what they're asking makes no sense. So I'm really good with that. Like I could win a conversation with anyone. If I was an attorney, I would probably never lose a case, but it's a waste of time to be an attorney. But literally, I'm really good with talking with people. So I could get people to work for me because I could show them why it's beneficial, why it's going to be better working for me than anyone else. Look how successful I am. You're going to learn a lot from me. You're going to make a lot of money. You're never going to have problems that you had at other places where they didn't pay you fair or they didn't pay you on time or whatever it was. You're never going to have to worry about not having enough jobs. You're never going to have to do. So, I mean, it's kind of easy. Once you work for me, after you work for other people, it's like there's nothing worse, working for me than somebody else, but there's so many more benefits.
What does your company look like right now? Because I know like you're the hands-off guy. Is it like one main company that holds everything else with a bunch of different partners in those, like on everything below your holding company, or what's that like?
Yeah, so I have a lot of different businesses and I have different partners in different businesses. But if you're talking about my real estate business, because that's probably what I spend the most time on, I actually spend a lot of time on my lending business. I lend a ton of money out. I have 10 to plus $1 million out at all times on different things. But I spend most of my time on lending and real estate. So in my real estate business, I have me and 2 partners. I am the one that finds all the deals. I'm the one that negotiates them all. I'm the one that underwrites them all. That's what I do. That's my whole role of real estate. Once I underwrite it and sign the contract and close on it, it goes to another one of my partners. My other partner does all the rehab, like literally everything rehab. And then my third partner does like the dispo and does the accounting, does the legal, and that type of stuff. So that's the real estate. We have 3 roles, 3 people, and we all enjoy what we do. I'm the one that everybody knows. Nobody even knows my other 2 partners because I'm the one that's the facing. I'm the one talking to everyone. I'm the one negotiating. They're kind of like, no one knows who rehabs your houses. Nobody knows who does the accounting, So everyone knows me. They don't even know the other 2. So that's my real estate business. And then of course we have employees and different things. And in my other businesses, I have like a partner in every single business, pretty much 95% of my business, I have a partner. And then usually in most of my businesses, I have the same 1 or 2 main partners, but then I probably have random partners in different businesses for different reasons that are different than other partners. So it just depends. Like some businesses, I have a partner because they're the ones that actually work it and run it. Some I have partners because they're able to do the operations or the, whatever I'm just not interested in doing, the marketing, the accounting, all that stuff. So once I find a good partner, I try to have them partners with me in a lot of businesses, but some businesses don't make sense for them. So I have other partners, and I have real estate, I have a lot of retail, I have a lot of entertainment, but I have like a lot of gyms, I have all kinds of weird stuff, and some of them just don't make sense for certain people. I have mostly businesses that are kind of unique or creative to some degree, or at least in the beginning when they started. But some of my partners are more, so I'm the creative guy. My other partners are the guy that implement everything, and without them, it all falls apart. So my partners like stuff that's all kind of hand fed to them, shown how to do everything, and they just like to operate and do it. So they're very into like franchises and stuff that's set up. I hate that stuff. I like stuff that's unique. Yeah. You can do whatever you want. So that's kind of like the dynamic. So like I would never ever own franchises, except I own a couple with my partners because that's what they like. They run it. So
I'm curious about the franchise because I at one point before I got into real estate, I thought like, hey, maybe let's just save up some money, buy a franchise. It's a business in a box, right? It's got all the systems in place. And then we started really like crunching the numbers on some of the different options, and we saw how much we were potentially going to take home. And we saw that the company or the franchisor was the one that was really, the benefit that you are. So what is your, if you're brand new and you're looking to buy a business, do you think you're better off, even if you don't have the business background and experience, to just take a shot at it on your own? Or do you think the franchise model can work for something?
I mean, you're going to make way more money just doing your own stuff and not franchise. So there's different types of people, right? There's the integrator, and there's the, there's the one that comes up with all the ideas. So,
the visionary. Yeah.
The visionary, right? So if you're an integrator, a franchise might be really good for you. But if you're a visionary, franchises suck. I mean, they suck. And I would definitely stay away from them for everything. I hate franchises. I never really do them, except for if I have a partner that's integrator that's like, look, let's do a franchise together. I'll be like, all right, but they're kind of do everything. There's not much for me to do. On the franchises that we own, I do almost nothing. At least on the other stuff, I did a lot in the beginning, maybe not continuously, but I did a ton in the beginning. Even on franchise, there's nothing to even do in the beginning. So for a visionary. So I would say if you're a visionary, stay away from franchises. If you're an integrator, do try a franchise, but you're definitely what you said is 100% right, Jason. Like, who makes all the money? It's the franchise, or, they make all the money. And there's only, you're capped at how much you can make. The way people that own a lot of franchises make money is they own like 50 Pizza Huts. They own 50 Dunkin' Donuts. They own 50.
That's what we saw. We were like, if we don't buy 10 of these fucking things, dude, it doesn't even matter, dude. One is like, I just make less than what my day job was.
You're buying a job if you own one or two. You're buying a job, and it's not even a great paying job typically. So it's usually not good. Now there are franchises that are better than others, but in general, you're not gonna get like super wealthy owning a franchise. Now if you own 100 of them, that can be different.
What's your have you taken the predictive index test?
No.
I mean, you were.
I never even took tests when I was in school. I don't know how the hell I passed. I just barely got through it. I've never read a book in my life.
That was my next question. Like, do you listen or read the books? Like, where do you consume information to help you make better decisions?
Just from doing it and from talking to people and asking questions and having them tell me. I watch videos, and I'll get on YouTube, or I just do stuff. I go to different network meetings. I talk to people. I bought like a decent amount of courses. I bought a lot of courses that I've learned different things. But I don't have the patience to read. Like, I get so intimidated. I see a book and I'm like, holy crap, how long is it going to take me to read that thing? I'm like, screw that. Like, I'd rather do something else. But yeah, so that's the way I learn.
When you're starting out a business, Abraham, is it more important to be the guy that understands the marketing aspect, can drive revenue, bring customers in the door, or just do sales? Is it more important to have systems in place before you start doing that, or does it just depending on the business that you have?
I mean, you should definitely have systems in place beforehand. If not, you're going to make crazy amounts of stupid mistakes. But, if you don't have systems in place, you've got to have really, really good instincts, and you've got to know business to some degree, even if it's not that business. So, you don't do stupid stuff to waste too much money. But I would say you should always have systems in place going into just about anything.
With your businesses right now, with all those partners, I know you do a lot of stuff with Carl Allen, and he's like doing a roll up. Are you like actively trying to do stuff like that, or no?
Yeah. So I'm not actively trying to do a roll up, but I do a ton of bolt-ons, which is a little different. So I own obviously a lot of businesses. And what I tried to do is buy all my competitors or buy like businesses or buy businesses that my same customers are going to want other people's stuff. So if I own, like I bought a trophy store in 2019, I bought 5 trophy stores since then, competitors, and I just combine them all and, have a bigger piece of the market because I'm able to get rid of a ton of expenses and I'm able to, grow my business with getting rid of a ton of expenses. So my, the amount it was worth before is worth so much more now. So that's what I try to do. I try to buy businesses that are like my businesses. I've done that with a lot of my gyms. I've done that with all kinds of other businesses. What a roll-up is when you're going out and buying a whole bunch of businesses at the same time to make one big business. I don't really try to do that. It's very profitable. For me, it's not, it's more work than I want to do. Like if you're really good at it and you've done it a lot, then it's not maybe as much work and it's fun. But I kind of like doing what I've done a lot in the past because it's easy and it's fun and I know I'm good at it. Stuff that I haven't done like a ton of, I don't like doing. Like even in real estate, people are like, well, why don't you do new construction? Why don't you do, RV parks? Why? I don't know, because I've never done it. No, I've never learned it before. Like I've never had someone I looked up to that taught me it. I'm sure I could figure it out, but I could do all this other stuff that I'm so good at. Like why learn something else unless there's someone that teaches me how to do it? I know people make a ton of money in land. I've never done land. If someone taught me how to do it, maybe I would do it. But I don't want to learn and put money into it. And, I want to understand it first. But I have no shortage of stuff that I could do right now to where I have tons of extra time to do other stuff anyway. Is something that you're not doing bad? No, it's not bad. It's just not for you. You don't know it. You're not good at it yet, whatever it is. So, there's nothing wrong with anything if you're good at it. But I try to stick with what I've done a lot of and what I'm already, good at and successful doing.
Do you have any hobbies? Oh, sorry.
Do I have any hobbies? Yeah, I do. I do jujitsu. I've been doing martial arts since I was like a teenager. I started with karate a long time ago, and but for the last 12 plus years, I've been doing jujitsu. So I roll, I grapple, I roll, choke people out every day, and I compete a few times a year in jujitsu tournaments. But yeah, about 10, 12 years ago, I did some like MMA fights too. So I had like 6. I was already really old when I started. 38 was when I did my first fight. But I had like 6 fights, but now I just do jujitsu. It's no punching and kicking, so I don't really get hurt.
Is there a method that you use, or do you decide going into a business that it's going to be like a shorter term acquisition that you're just going to improve and sell like you would fix and flip a house? Or do you go in with the intent of holding stuff longer term and just trying to generate as much cash flow as you can?
Yeah.
Like how do you look at those two?
Every business that I buy or that I start, my intent's always the same. My intent is to keep it forever and just cash flow as much as I can. What happens is somebody makes me a really crazy offer, or the market like tanks, or the market just goes up so much where I could sell it for so much more than I thought I ever could. And that's when I get rid of businesses, either because it goes to shit and I get rid of it because I don't want to have a bad business, or somebody makes me an offer I can't refuse, or it just goes up so much that now I see that I could get way more for it. And I think that I could use that money and time for something better. But I don't ever buy businesses to try to sell them. It just turns into that based on what happens at some point during when I own it.
I'm curious to know this question. What's the biggest loss that you've the biggest business failure that you've had? Because I think lots of times people get disenchanted with like, oh man, I'm doing all this, making all this money, blah, 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 blah. Right. And like, I'm sure you've taken tons of L's over the year, just that you've learned through trial and error. Right. So what is maybe the most valuable learning experience that you've talked about the loss? What did that loss look and feel like, if you're open to sharing numbers so people know that it's not just like making money hand over fist, right?
So the truth of the matter is I've lost on way, way, way more businesses that I made money on. But like I said earlier, I lost very small amounts on most businesses I lost money on because I recognize that I'm going to lose a lot more if I keep it. And so I haven't lost like crazy big amounts on any one business, but I've lost on way more businesses that I made money on. But keep in mind, the business I make money on, I've never had businesses that'll make millions of dollars, tens of millions usually. And of course, the one over 100 million. But what I would say is my biggest loss that I could put in perspective is in 2001, I started a haunted house, and it was big. I rented out it was like a Macy's in a mall here. It was a Macy's or whatever it was, went out of business. So I took like a department store and I turned it into a few haunted houses, pumpkin patches, costume stores, you name it. It was a huge thing. So I probably spent like $250,000 at least on it or more that I lost. And that was probably my biggest loss. So that was 2001. So I was, in my mid 20s, and I spent a lot more on that, but I got some of the money back. But I lost over $250,000 on that one. And that was probably my biggest loss per what I was worth at the time. So, losing 250,000 at that time would it be like losing, $10 million right now. You know what I mean? So I would say that was probably my biggest loss. So what I learned was the reason why we lost a lot, some of it was, stuff I could have controlled and some of it I couldn't control. But the biggest thing that I could control, that I learned the absolute most from, that's helped me a lot since then, was that I had 3 partners in that. And one of them was the biggest asshole ever and was like screwing me every single possible way. And I didn't realize it. Now, keep in mind, I was 25. So at the time I had a couple partners that were around my age. And then I had this one partner that was 40, right? Or something, he's a lot older than me. Right. And that's the slick guy. And that's the guy that screwed me. So, I just realized from that time that you really got to watch every single person you deals with, and don't just because you're friends or just because you think they're good guys, they're not going to screw you over. So I literally, every single chance he was able to screw me over on any particular thing, from, the amount of money we put in, from the, when we actually had customers stealing money. And then at the end, when we realized, all right, we're going to lose a lot of money, taking all the inventory, taking all the costumes, and just being able to justify it in his mind that he should get it because whatever reason. But I learned a lot just basically about partnerships and that there's a lot of bad people out there, worse than you would even think.
How did you learn how to pull the plug so quickly? That was like a very interesting thing. You've lost on a lot of businesses, but you pull the plug quickly before the bleeding starts to get out of hand. I know in investing, and I've fallen victim to this too. It's like you just chase that loss, you throw good money at bad money, right? And then it just keeps getting worse and worse. So what was it that got you to the space where you knew how to just rip that band-aid?
Don't get emotionally involved in anything you do. There's nothing I have that I wouldn't sell. There's nothing I won't buy. But I mean, I'm not emotionally attached to anything. Even if I put all my blood and sweat and tears in something, it is what it is. It's a business. It's a house. It's a fix and flip. If it's not worth that much, sell it for what it's worth. Move on. Do the next one. So you can't get emotionally involved. But literally, I have really good instincts. I think I'm just lucky. I have really good instincts. So when I see something's not going, like before I start something, I have a prediction of what I think it's going to do by what date and how much it's going to do. And if I see it's not going in the direction I want, I try to change a few things. But if it doesn't, turn fast enough, I'm like, all right, I made a mistake. Let's move on. And, I just know when it's time because I set the goals ahead of time. I have good instincts and I see from previous stuff. And of course, you cannot get emotionally attached to anything. So I have a friend that had a gym, and it was a UFC gym in Atlanta. And he put like a few $100,000 into it, and it never made money. So he'd keep putting more money in every single month. And then before you knew it, this guy was a big real estate guy at the time, and he had like tons of properties, rentals. He sold every single month or two. He'd sell another property, put it into the business. He's like, oh, it's going to turn around. It's a great gym. Before you knew it, he had $1 million in this fucking gym, lost all his money, went out of business, and there was nothing to show for it. And he had $1 million worth of rentals, free and clear. Now he has nothing. I mean, this is a few years ago, but he got emotionally attached. He's like, dude, I love this gym. I can know it's going to do good. I know the other people, but you can't. Like, if you at some point you gotta, just cut your losses. He's like, I don't want to lose the 250. Then he was like, I don't want to lose the 350. I don't want to lose the 450. Yeah. I know if I put my money, I'll turn it around. And it's just brutal. Got too emotionally attached and just was delusional.
How do you manage on that topic of losing business? So on that topic of business losses, right? We've all had different losses. We know businesses like restaurants are really tough businesses to have success in, high failure rate. What are your favorite businesses to be in, and what are the ones that you would stay away from?
So it's going to be different for everybody. I'm going to answer in a second, but going back to the last question really, really fast. The most important thing to not lose money on business or real estate, whatever, have a pipeline going, have other ideas going. So like, if that's the only thing that you have going, then you're going to get emotionally attached and you're going to put more money. But if you have like another business, another real estate you can do, that's what's going to help you get rid of the shit ones. But going back to your question. That's so huge.
Yeah.
Going back to your question now, as far as what businesses. So I think that everyone should be in a different business that's based on that. There's not a business out there, whether it's scooping up shit, whether it's plumbing, whether it's entertainment, whether it doesn't matter what it is. Every single type of business, there are people that are making bank, that are making millions, tens of millions of dollars. But in that same industry, there's people that are losing money going out of business every single day. So it's not really the industry. It's what are you passionate about? What are you good at? What do you have experience at? What do you know people that are good at? That's kind of more what it comes down to, because if you look at the industries in general, there's not one industry that everybody's in that makes a ton of money. There isn't. There's people that lose money in the best industry. So it's really what your skill sets are good at and what you're passionate about. If you enjoy something, you're naturally going to be better at it. You're naturally going to make more money. You're going to enjoy it, and you're going to do good. If you're just doing something and you just don't enjoy it, it's just going to be a lot harder to do good at it. So that's why I have partners that do different things in different businesses, because I don't like everything in all my businesses. I don't like everything in the real estate. I have partners that like what I don't like, and vice versa. And that's how we do stuff very well. But really, honestly, the real truth answer is you've got to do a business that makes sense for you. I would never get into IT. I'm an idiot. I could barely turn a computer on, but somebody else that's really good at IT, they probably shouldn't get into, entertainment. They shouldn't get into something else, because it's not their thing. You got to stay in your lane, stay where you're good at, stay, maybe what your friends are, your family is good at. And, if you have someone that you can learn from, then it's okay. But if you just got to learn it all on your own, you're probably not going to do good at it, even if it's a good industry.
How do you manage all those partnerships? That just sounds like a mental headache to me.
A lot.
I mean, you have an operating agreement. Every single one, you have an operating agreement. So in the operating agreement, it has dozens of different clauses that what happens if this happens? What happens if this happens? Who has this? What happens if this? But, you've got to get good partners, right? And you've got to make sure that everybody understands what they're supposed to do. And the worst businesses are when you have partners that don't do what they're supposed to do. So you make it very clear what everyone's supposed to do. Everyone agrees to it ahead of time. It's put in the operating agreement. And this is what happens if you don't do what you're supposed to do. I mean, it's a nightmare if they don't. It's like a divorce, right? I mean, you're with your partners as much as you're with your spouse. So getting divorced sucks. Having a bad partner sucks. It's the same thing. It's the divorce, So you've got to make sure you have good partners. Everybody knows exactly what's expected of you and what you're tell them what you plan on doing, what you plan on not doing, and what you expect them to do and not to do. And make sure that everyone does it. And once you find good partners, then do more shit with them. And, before you do big businesses with partners, do like little small stuff with everyone. Maybe, just become friends. Maybe do like little small deals and see if it works out. See if you guys, think the same way, are on the same page. And, if you are, then do more and more stuff with them until you get these really big businesses with people.
We said at the beginning, I feel like buying businesses has started to become more in vogue on social media. At least I'm seeing more people talking about buying businesses, doing that stuff. Mm-hmm. Right. And so the thought process that I hear is that you have this baby boomer generation that's aging up. They've got a business that they've run that is relatively successful, but there is no succession plan. Right. And I think it's even less attractive for a child to want to inherit a business when you've got your own life. I could see the the benefit of the real estate and me wanting to inherit real estate, but I wouldn't want to go inherit my dad's business. Right. So I definitely see the opportunity there. Do you see that we're coming on to some golden age where there's going to be a lot of these opportunities? And is this going to be
it's big.
A big thing that's coming up right now?
It's big, and it's been big for the last couple of decades, but every single few years it gets bigger and bigger because there's so much more sexier stuff to do. And most people that have businesses that are retiring have less sexy businesses or stuff that's not as hip and cool. So their kids don't really want them or their grandkids don't want them. So there is a lot more of it going. The reason why though you see a lot more about business right now is because of YouTube and social media. And Cody Sanchez obviously is probably one of the biggest ones that blew up, buying businesses. But there's people like Carl Allen. I mean, I've been teaching it for a long time. But I mean, literally, there's so many more people that are big influencers now that have been talking about it. So you see Alex Hormozy, is a big one now that talks about it too. So when you see people like that talk about it, everyone's going to hear about it because they're just so influential.
You said you hate jewelry, so you didn't collect any really cool watches during this Gold Max rush?
I've never worn a watch in my life. Like I might have worn watches before there were phones that had times on it, but like literally since there were phones that had times on it, I've never worn a watch. I just never liked it. It's uncomfortable. I don't have any jewelry. I never have any jewelry. I don't have any necklaces, bracelets, ring. I mean, I'm married. I've been married for a while. I have a ring, but I've never worn it. Like it's just uncomfortable. And plus I do martial arts, so you'd have to take it off and on. It's a pain in the ass. But yeah, it's just not comfortable. Like I guess and I remember when I did wear a watch before, the phones had times on it, I would take it off and it was just nasty. It was like fucking like grease and sweat. It was just disgusting. I was like, why would you want that shit? I don't know.
You and I are a lot alike.
It's sort of like crypto people and drug dealers. It's not. I'm mixing it together for you, crypto and drug.
Yeah. No, I don't drink. I've never done drugs. I don't like to wear watches or jewelry either. So yeah, you and I are like that.
No wonder you guys get along.
Yep.
But you like crypto. You didn't say you didn't like crypto. You like crypto.
I like the speculation that crypto could make me a gazillionaire. So I threw some money at it. Yes, I did. Guilty as charged. But I'm not sitting there speculating and looking at it every day. So
you threw a solid handful of money at it, bro. It wasn't some money at it.
It wasn't. It might have been a decent amount, but it was disposable money. I set it there. We'll see what happens to it.
Yeah.
Bro, so what are your keys to leadership? Because I don't think you could have gotten here with all these different companies and all these great teams without leading people.
Yeah, you've got to be a good person and be successful at something. And everyone's successful at something. It doesn't matter who you are. There's something you're successful at. So you've got to use that to your benefit and show people that's what you're successful at, and people will respect you more. So if you're a good person and you can show what you're good at and how people could learn from you and how you could benefit all these other people, they're going to want to be around you. And that's pretty much really how you get the best people. And, now I have a track record of all these other things I've done. So any new person, I'm like, oh, look at all this other stuff I have or have done. And, it gets easier as you build that stuff up.
What do you think your unique ability is?
My unique ability is really good. I'm really good at talking with people. But probably the best thing is my creativity. I'm very, very creative. There's nothing you could stump me with because even if I don't know it, I'm going to come up with a way to make it work. So literally, I'm very creative with everything I do in life, whether it's, with my wife, with my kids, with my, if I ever had bosses or mentors or, employees, my friends, I have a way to get whatever I want creatively and where everyone's happy. And, that's probably what it is. If you're creative, I don't think there's anything in life you can't do. So I actually have sometimes I speak at different people's events. I spoke at a couple events with Dean. Actually, Dean spoke at one of my events too. But we did different events, and I actually have a whole hour, 45-minute slides. I talk about creativity and how you could be super successful in life using creativity in every aspect. And I go through, forget about business. I mean, obviously I talk about business, real estate, but I talk about every aspect in life, whether it's, you want to get in front of a line, whether you want to, get your kids to do what you want, or whether it doesn't matter. You want to get out of trouble. There's a way to, to do everything creatively. And that's how I think the most successful people either got lucky or got really creative or, something like that. So my creativity is probably one of the biggest things that got me where I'm at.
What are your goals for the companies and your real estate and your lending? Do you have goals, or are you I'm just out here getting after it?
I literally have zero goals. So I would say when I was younger, I had goals, but once you get to a certain point, what goals do you even need? The goal should be to live a happy, stress-free life, have, help people, have them like you, be a good person. But as far as numbers or as far as anything like timelines, it's not important. You just want to be healthy. You just want to enjoy life. Do what you like. I like martial arts, so I like going and do that. A few days a week. I like spending some time, with the kids, with whatever. And that's just my goal, is just to be happy all the time. So I don't do anything that is not something I enjoy doing. Like I only do stuff that I enjoy. If I can make a ton of money doing something, but I just won't enjoy it, I won't do it because ultimately it's going to fuck my life up.
And what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
My 18-year-old self, I would tell him to be a good person.
He was already doing pretty good.
I was already, yeah.
You're not wrong, though. Like, he was already
he had a mill at 19. Yeah.
Like,
What
bro,
would you
just
give
keep
advice
chugging.
to your 12-year-old self?
Connections. Hang around the right people. I mean, definitely the way that I made most of my money was hanging around the right people. I talked about earlier, being in the right networks, being, around the right people. So you have to be around the right people. Obviously, that's what everybody says and everything, but it's true. So if you are around the right people, you're going to be very successful, and you're going to be like the people you hang around. And if you hang around good people, you're going to be a good person. If you hang around rich people, you're going to be rich. So I would say learn from as many people that know more than you. Everybody knows more than you on something, right? So just learn what everybody knows that's really good at it. It's something you're interested in. It's something you're interested in. Find people that are good at it. Learn from them. Whether you buy a program that they have or whether you just become friends with them and you help them with other stuff and they help you with that. Being around the right people is super critical.
I got one more. Who's the best entrepreneur you know besides yourself, and why?
The best entrepreneur. So I don't follow a ton of
someone you know personally, though, like who you do business with. Like, damn, that dude is exceptional.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few people, but you don't know who. I can tell you them, but you won't know who they are. But like someone that you guys all know that I know is a really good entrepreneur that I kind of know, like Alex Hormozy. So Alex Hormozy. I met him before anyone knew who he was. I have a lot of gyms. I own a whole bunch of gyms, and I bought his gym launch program back when he first started it. Like he was homeless the year before I bought it, literally. So he would tell us stories of how he lived in his gym the year before, we bought his program and stuff like that. This is like 7 years ago was probably when I met him. That's when he started his program. So I saw him from when he was nothing go to like where he's at now. It's crazy. I never thought it would have been possible like 5-6 years ago. Now he had like 100 people in his program when I was there, then 500, then thousands of people. And I remember going to his events. He would have like these quarterly events and then a couple times a year events, and we would go there, and then I would see like how good of a speaker he was. He's really, really good at speaking. He's really good at sales. Yeah. He could sell you anything. He could make you believe anything. He's really good. He's like me. Like he could talk to anyone and get them to believe whatever he wants. Like he could talk you into anything and you'll believe it. And I remember like every year he'd have like a bigger name talk at his event, then a bigger name. Then I'm like, holy shit, now he's like the one everybody wants at his events. He's like the biggest name, So it's pretty cool. So I would say he is one of the best entrepreneurs that I know that I've known before he was a good entrepreneur. And he did some stupid stuff in the beginning, and he learned from it really fast and turned it around. And now he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and who knows how much and counting every single month and year. But that's somebody that everybody knows that I kind of knew in the early stages. That's really good. But I have a lot of friends that are really good here, but you won't know who they are. But they're just sharp. They know what they're doing. They're good with people. That's the common trait. If you're good with people, you're good at sales, you're good at talking with people, then you're good. If you're not good at talking with people, you have no shot. Like you're done. You got to get good at talking with people. And
were you naturally good at that? Like at the beginning, because I know lots of people.
No,
like,
I mean, you're never. I don't think I was naturally good in the beginning, but I literally, my business when I was 15, 16, 17 was buying and selling stuff off different people every single week. So I mean, I just got better at it. Because how do you get good at something? Just the more you do it, the more you do it. So no one's going to be good at anything that they haven't done a whole lot. So it's like the more you do something, the better you get.
Bro, I love it. What parting words do you have for the people?
Don't buy crypto. No, just kidding. No, I actually don't. I actually own a little bit of crypto, but I never liked it.
It came out.
I have this friend of mine that I actually bought his business back in 1999, and we became really good friends since then. This guy's been bugging me since fucking Bitcoin came out to buy Bitcoin. I never bought any for years and years and years. And then at one point it got so high, he's like, I told you should buy it. And he suckered me into buying some, although he didn't make any money off it. He just went, and of course I bought it, probably at the wrong time. So that's why I don't like it. But yeah, no, So, when did you buy? Did you buy it when it was like cheap or really high, Dean?
Cheap.
Cheap. So you're
Yeah.
good. You're ahead.
Yeah, I'm good.
You're good. Yeah, no, but parting words, everything we talked about. Make sure you're around the right people. Make sure you're good at talking to people. Talk to more and more people. Join all kinds of networking events. Go to all your local real estate meetups if you're in real estate. I'm assuming most people that watch this are in real estate. So make sure that you join every single Facebook group that is around that you could benefit from, because I post in them all. I make comments in them all, so people keep responding to me. That's why I'm on every wholesaler's list in Atlanta. Make sure you put your name out there. Post on your social media as much as you can, all the stuff you do good. You're not bragging. I promise you, you're not bragging. It just shows everybody what you're doing, and now people do more deals. I literally could show you messages I get from people every single month. They're like, I saw that you just did this. I had this opportunity for you because I saw it. If they didn't see it, I wouldn't have done all these things that I've done. It's just by doing it. No one thinks you're bragging. People just think, that you're showing what you do so you can help other people and you can do more deals. And that's what you really need to do.
Hell yeah, bro. Thank you so much for coming on. Guys, don't forget to follow Abraham. Abraham, where can people find out more about you?
They can find out more about me. I have a YouTube channel, Abraham Gray, Gray. My Instagram is Abraham Gray Official. And then on Facebook, I'm on Facebook all the time. It's Abraham Gray. Just, friend request me, follow me. And if we're in the same industries, we'll do business together.
Hell yeah. And then, guys, don't forget to hit like and subscribe and get your tickets to the Deal Champs Summit on April 19th and 20th before they sell out. Abraham, thank you so much for tuning in. Guys, thank you so much for coming on.
Yep. See ya.